Okay, this is the volume reteach for the test that was just recently taken. Again, here are the procedures. Make sure you watch the video and complete corrections on a separate sheet of paper. And then complete corrections as follows. You want your answers and the correct answers on the left-hand side. You're going to split your paper down the middle. And then you want to show all your work for your corrections on the right-hand side. Alright, so let's start with question 1 and 2. They're together because they are just vocabulary-based questions. Simply one, we're asking what is the definition of volume. Now remember, surface area was the amount of space on the outside. Volume, what we're looking for is the amount of space on the inside. We're looking at choice A, the amount of space an object occupies. Now that is the correct answer. Let's talk about why B and C are wrong. The area of all the surface on the outside of the figure. Outside being the key word there. We're not looking for outside, we're looking for inside. So B would be incorrect. C, the area of all the faces and bases of a 3D figure. Again, we're not looking for area, we're looking for volume, so we're not looking for any area. And then obviously A is the right answer, so D cannot be. Alright, number 2. In the formula for volume, V equals capital BH and V equals 1/3 capital BH. Capital B stands for, now remember, we're looking at capital B, not lowercase b. Capital B, remember, is the area of the base. Number 3 is when we actually start finding some calculations. So what is the volume in cubic inches of the rectangular prism shown below? Now rectangular tells me that the shape of my base is a rectangle. So my base is a rectangle. That's important to know because to find the area of a rectangle, we know that area is equal to base times height. So I'm going to go ahead and shade the base so I can see the base. And we have 2 bases on a rectangular prism. And now I can go ahead and look at my formula. Now my formula for a prism is simply V equals capital B times H. Remember capital B being the area of the base. So to do that, let's go over here and look at finding the area of the rectangle. So I'm going to say 7.5 times 5 because that's my base and height of my rectangle. And that gives me 37.5. Now this is the area of the base, which is also we can say is the same as capital B. So when I come over here to solve for my volume, I'm going to plug in my number, 37.5 for capital B. Now, for H, that's the height of the prism, and we call it this distance between the 2 bases. So I've shaded my 2 bases, top and bottom, and I want to know how far apart are these 2 rectangles. Well, in this case, it's 6.5. Now when I multiply those 2 together, you get a total of 243.75. And that is your volume for question 3. Alright, question 4. Here we have a pyramid, and we know it's a pyramid because all the sides come to a point right here on top. And I know some of the classes they said if you see the point, that reminds me at the end I have to divide by 3. Also, if you read the word problem, James is building a clay model of a triangular pyramid. Okay, so we know this is a pyramid. From Egypt for his history project. What is the volume of the model in cubic units? Now the formula for this one, if you look on your star reference chart, is B equals base area of the base times the height. But in this case, because it is a pyramid, we have to add the 1/3. Now, when we go to look, we still need to look at what capital B is. Okay, well, capital B is going to be the area of the base. And in this case, my base is a triangle. And to find that, I need to say 1/2 base times height. So the base of my triangle is going to be right here, is going to be 6. So my 1/2 stays 1/2. The base of the triangle is 6. Now the height of the triangle, when we're looking for just height of the triangle, I'm looking from the base alone. So I'm still looking at just the base, not the height of the pyramid, but the height of the triangle. And the height of the triangle here is 10. So when I multiply and simplify, I get 1/2 6 times 10, which is going to give me 60. And then capital B is going to be half of 60, which is 30. So when I go back over here and plug in for my equation, I get the volume is equal to 1/3 capital B, which we solved. So I'm going to take that and plug it in right here. Now I need to find the height of the pyramid. Now the height of the pyramid is if we would instead the very top of the pyramid, up here at the top of the pyramid, and there was a hole at the top of the pyramid, and we could look straight down, and I could drop a tape measure straight down. I want to know what the distance is from the very top straight down to the bottom. And in this case, that's going to be this 4 inches right here. So I'm going to plug in for H. I'm going to plug in 4. So now when I multiply, I'm going to say 30 times 4 is 120. And then I'm going to take 1/3 of that. Now to take 1/3 of that, that's simply just saying divide by 3. And 120 divided by 3 gives me a total of 40, which is answer choice C. So if you made a mistake on this one, common mistakes would be forgetting to divide by 3 here. Another common mistake is forgetting to take half of it because it's a triangle. So again, make your corrections, make sure you write the right answer, and then go ahead and move on to the next problem. Alright, question 5. Again, we have a pyramid because I have a point on top. So at the end, if I look at my formula, it's going to tell me to divide by 3. The square pyramid, we're looking at Elena drew a model of a square pyramid. The dimensions are shown in the diagram. The question here, we're still looking for volume, even though it doesn't ask you, but just know that we are looking for volume. So I'm going to go ahead and shade the base down here so that way I can see it. And because it is a pyramid, I'm using the formula V equals 1/3 capital B, meeting area of the base times the height. So let's look at capital B first. It's a square. So in order to find capital B, which is the area of the square, I'm still going to say base times height. And I know here that my base is 10 and my height is 10 because it's a square, so they're both the same. So 10 times 10 is going to give me a total of 100. So I'm going to plug that 100 in right here for capital B. So when I start plugging in, substituting for my formula, I get 1/3 capital B, which is 100, times the height of the pyramid. So just like the last question, we're going to start at the top and we're going to drop a tape measure straight down. If I do that, that distance from the very top straight down to the base is going to be 12. So now that I start simplifying, I have V equals 1/3. 12 times 100 is 1,200. And then 1,200 divided by 3 is going to give me a total of 400. Common mistake here would probably be forgetting to divide by 3. As you can see, that answer choice is right there. And then another common mistake would be not plugging in the numbers correctly into the formula. So go ahead and make corrections if you need to, and then move on to the next question. Alright, so again, first common mistake made is a lot of people here will say this is a rectangular prism because it's sitting on a rectangle. And the important thing to do here is to read the problem because it says the dimension of a triangular prism. Now, we say the shape is in the name. This says triangular, so that means the shape of the base is a triangle. We're looking for the triangle. Okay. So, really, the bases are not the rectangles. The bases are going to be these two triangles. Now, like I said, it's the most missed question because of the way it's orientated. The reality is what it should look like if you rotate it is something like this. Okay. So it's same shape, just different orientation. So I'm still looking for a prism, so I'm just going to be doing V equals capital B H. Remember, I do not need to divide by 3 unless it's a pyramid. Capital B, in this case, the base is a triangle, so to find capital B, I'm going to do 1/2 base times height, because to find the area of a triangle, we take 1/2 the base times its height. Now, another common mistake right now is that you guys are going to, if you made it, is using this as the height. Remember, we measure height perpendicular, straight up and down. I'm looking for that. This is what we call a distractor. We don't need that 5. Okay. So to solve it, I'm going to say capital B is equal to 1/2. The base of the triangle here is going to be 6. The height of the triangle, remember, there's the perpendicular distance right here. That's going to be 4. When I simplify, I get 1/2. 6 times 4 is 24, which gives me a capital B of 12, because half of 24 is 12. So I'm going to take that capital B, and then again I'm going to start substituting over here in my formula. V equals, the volume is equal to capital B, which we know in this case is 12, times the height of the pyramid. Now, another time you might want to use 5 is saying that, well, that's the height of the pyramid because that's how tall the triangle is. Again, remember, it's the distance between the two bases, the prism. I want to say how far is it from one triangle to the other, because the triangle is my base. In this case, the distance from one triangle to the other is 16. So that's going to be capital H. So when I multiply 12 by 16, we get a grand total of, for volume, 192. So my final answer is 192. Common mistakes, like I said, are using 5. This is a distractor. It's not needed. Another common mistake is forgetting to take half of the triangle. If you made a mistake or you need to make corrections, make sure you do that, and then move on to the next problem. Alright, so straight up word problem here. A rectangular pyramid and a rectangular prism have the same base and height. If the volume of the rectangular pyramid is 75 cubic centimeters, what is the volume of the rectangular prism in cubic centimeters? Now, if we go back and we talk about the relationship of why is the volume of a pyramid 1/3 capital BH and the volume of a prism, let me draw my pyramid here, and why is a prism just BH? Well, that's because we know that 3 of the pyramids fit into a prism. So if we look at that pictorially another way, let me erase this. Basically what I'm saying is that when we look at a prism and compare it to a pyramid that has the exact same base, that means they're identical bases in size and shape, I can say that one prism is equal to 3 pyramids. Let me draw that out. So, all 3 of these I can put together to make one of these. Now, why is that important? That's because we know, what do we know? We know that a rectangular pyramid and a rectangular prisms, they have similar bases. So these bases are all identical. If the volume of the rectangular pyramid is 75, so not the prism, but the pyramid. So I'm saying that this guy right here is worth 75, which means this guy is worth 75, which means this pyramid is also worth 75. So what is the volume of the rectangular prism cubic centimeters? So I want to know, what is this volume? Well, to do that, I know that 3 of these fit in there, so I take 75, multiply it by 3 for a total of 225D. Very, very common mistake. What I saw was a lot of you guys were taking 75 and dividing it by 3 because you thought 75 was here. Now remember, 75 is the pyramids, okay, not the prism. So if you need to make corrections on that one, and then move on to the next question. Alright, number 8. A pencil holder shaped like a triangular prism is shown in the picture. The height of the pencil holder is 12 centimeters. That means from this point to this point is 12. Again, this is a triangular prism. That means that the shapes of the base here are triangles. I know that the volume of the pencil holder is 216. I want to find out what is the area of the base, or what is capital B. Now we call this working backwards, or dissecting the formula. So it's a prism, so I know I have V equals capital B H. So I need to plug in what I know. Well, I know that the height of the prism is 12. I know that I'm looking for capital B, so I'm just going to leave that as capital B. What I need to know, realize, and a lot of you guys were making the mistake here, is what is 216 and how do I use it? Well, 216, it says, is the total volume of the pencil holder, which is going to be capital B. So instead of capital V, I'm going to substitute 216. Now, this goes back to a little bit of 6th grade and a little bit at the beginning of the year. What we have here is an equation. So I have 216 is equal to capital B times 12. Well, I want to get capital B by itself. So we need to split this into two equations. I like to circle my variable so I know what I'm solving for. And I ask myself, what am I trying to get rid of so I can get capital B by itself? Well, I got to get rid of this 12. To do that, I have to do the opposite of what it's doing. Here, we're multiplying because they're right next to each other. If they're right next to each other, we know it's multiplication. So the inverse operation, or the opposite of what it's doing, would be to divide. So I need to take 216 and divide it by 12. When you do that, if you did it correctly, you should have gotten a total of capital B is equal to 18. Now you can go back and check that answer real easy by plugging it back into the formula. So V equals capital BH. So if I say capital B is 18, I know the height from the word problem says it's 12. It should all come out to 216. So when you do that, it does come out to 216. And so we know that this is the correct answer. Common mistakes is not knowing what to do with that, not seeing or reading this. Also saying that the height of the triangle was 12 and then trying to find it that way. Just make sure, and this one is mostly about making sure you read and pull out the information that you need. Okay, last question. A rectangular flower pot is half full. That's important. Let me rewrite that. Of soil, as shown below. What is the volume of the soil? Now, there's a couple ways to solve this. I'm going to solve it by looking at what we've done so far. I know this is a prism. A rectangular flower pot, it's a shape of a prism because we don't have one point. We have two bases. And then I have a height between the two bases. So I'm going to use the formula V equals capital BH. So I got to find the area of the base, because that's capital B, and that's going to be base times height. So I'm going to say 4.2 times 3. Well, that gives me, and I do that math, I get 12.6. So I'm able to plug that in over here for B. Let me change colors. Now, the height, remember, is the space between the base or the distance from the two rectangles. So I'm going to say 12.6 times 8. Now, when I look at that mathematics, give myself some room down here. Remember, when you multiply by decimals, you don't need to line your decimals up. You just need to go back and count them at the end. 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 4 is 20. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 2 more is 10. That gives you 100.8. Now, you notice that answer choice is on there. But that is the answer choice that's there to trick you. Okay, because this is not done. Because, why did we write this up here, the 1/2? Well, it's important because I don't want the whole box. If I was looking for the whole box, this answer would be correct. But I'm not looking for the whole box, I'm looking for half. So what I have to do is take 100.8 and divide it by 2. Well, half of 100 is 50. Bring down the 8, my decimal comes up. 2 goes into 8 4 times, giving me an answer of A, 50.4. Okay, so that will complete the reteach for the volume. Make sure that you fill out your corrections and then turn them into your teacher during the times or whichever time you work out with them. Hope this helps. Again, make sure you have shown all your work to get full credit for the corrections. And good luck on your reteach or retest.